Super Mario Galaxy is seen from the most amount of reviews that I've seen people talking about it as the best 3D Mario game of all time. I understand you might have your own opinion, but if it's not, just shut the fuck up and let me make the video, okay? For context, the first time I played this game was only a couple months ago, and I made a dog shit review of it that you should not go watch, and it will not be linked in the description. Don't watch. But only a few months after playing the game for the first time, I already got the itch to want to go back and play it again. I mean, I've heard great things about the game, but I really didn't expect myself to already want to go back and play it. Over the past couple months, I've played multiple games, probably like 5 or 10 at this point, and nothing has really stuck with me the way that Super Mario Galaxy did. And a lot of the times I find myself asking, is this as good of a game as Galaxy was? Which is crazy to me, because I didn't grow up with this game. This isn't something that I have a lot of nostalgia for. I played it just a couple months ago, and I already have such an amazing memory of playing it. So today I decided to go back and play it, revisit this childhood classic of mine, and see if it's actually as good as I remember it being. Now, the story of Galaxy is pretty simple, like most Mario games are. There's this thing called the Star Festival that happens every 100 years, and Peach asks Mario if he'll sit at the picnic and maybe, you know, get a little down and dirty in front of the stars, you know. But then big boy Bowser, he comes in on this giant ass, this spaceship, literally space boat ship, pirate ship. He comes and he lasers up the castle from Mario 64, and then Mario's like, no, you can't do that, and then Bowser blasts him into the cosmos into bumfuck nowhere. Pretty simple. Now, most Mario games don't have this advanced of a story, and when it comes to gaming, it's really not even that crazy of a story, but in Mario's perspective, this is a really fleshed out story, and it actually plays to Galaxy's advantage really well, because now it feels like there's a real reason that you're doing everything you do in the game. This game feels like it's important more than any other Mario game. It kind of gives you this feeling of importance whenever you're playing it throughout, and I feel like even if the game was absolute liquid dog shit, everybody would still kind of, at least to some extent, appreciate the game, because since the game takes itself seriously, it's easier for the player to take it more seriously. It takes itself more seriously than that one guy who sold 1/8 of an ounce of weed back in high school, and because of that, it gives you way more of an emotional connection to the game. Now, the controls are good. There's the long jump, spin, triple jump, backflip, and side jump. I think that's it, but I'm probably forgetting a couple fucking movements. I'm not gonna lie, the controls in this game are pretty disappointing. Like, 3 of all of the different movements that you have are just jump that make Mario go big high, but it kind of works because of the way that the levels are structured. Since all the levels in the games are like these planet balls that have really weird gravity compared to other Mario levels, it makes sense why the controls would be a bit more stripped down than something you'd see in like Odyssey or something like that. But I just wish that there was something here that gave the game's controls just a little bit more of a learning curve. The only real new movement mechanic that we got was the spin, and I mean, that's basically just a reskin of other Mario power-ups that have already come out. If there was just 1 or 2 more movement techs in the game that required you to spend a good amount of time learning and mastering them, then it would make the game feel way more interesting to control around. For instance, Odyssey on your first playthrough is kind of not the best in the world. It's a great game, there's great settings, but in my opinion, one of the things that makes Odyssey so good to me is the fact that the more and more you play it, the better and better you get at the movement, and the better you get at the movement, the more you can get out of the game. If there was something like that in Galaxy, this game would be even more replayable than it already is. But for what it is, it gets the job done. And like I said, the levels in this game are these planets that have these obstacle course-like platforms in them. They're cool. Some of my favorites are Gusty Garden, Honey Hive, and Freeze Flame Galaxy. Gusty Garden, Honey Hive, and Freeze Flame Galaxy. Now, the way the movement works in the game and how you use it is obviously tied to the level's geometry. And since there's constantly so many new ideas and new platforms and places that you're exploring in the game, it kind of makes up for the lacklusterness fluidness that the movement has. And the way that the levels are made actually complements the basicness of the movement really well. However, while this game is seen as one of the greatest games of all time to most, there's no debating that some of these levels are just stupid fucking pieces of fucking stupid bitch. Now, this is personal preference, but I personally think that Toy Time, Space Junk, and Ghastly Galaxy, is that really what it's Ghostly, are just absolutely fucking terrible. I mean, it makes sense though. I don't think that there's a game in the world that at least even one person who's played the thing has literally loved to death every single level in it. Obviously, there's gonna be some that I fucking hate, but overall, I like the uniqueness of most of the levels, and I think that they play pretty well. I also like that it's constantly throwing new ideas at you throughout the entire game, so even if you fucking hate, and I mean fucking hate, Ghostly Galaxy, at least there's something cool waiting around the corner. Now, because of this game's story and music, it's pretty melancholy. I learned what that word was 5 minutes ago, and if you don't know, it basically means this kind of aura of sadness that surrounds the game. Not necessarily that it is sad, but it gives you this feeling of sad. And I would say that that kind of represents Galaxy really well. Now, normally, my favorite vibe that a video game can have is a tropical, fun / casual, happy vibe. And that's why I thought that I was gonna like Super Mario Galaxy 2 more. Just look at these two boxes. I mean, one of them kind of looks like a dark abyss whatever, and kind of looks just kind of more sadder and grand, and then the other one just kind of looks like this fuckery. But this game's vibe or aura that it has to it, although I thought I wasn't gonna like, because why would you want to play a game that's just fucking sad all the time, actually makes the game so much better and ties back into that feeling of importance that it has. I feel like if this game just did the fuckery or whatever, and it had the same kind of vibe that 3D World was going for, this game really wouldn't even be that popular. It'd probably just be seen as a cool experimental Mario game. But I really think that the vibe that Galaxy has is probably one of, if not the biggest reasons people like it so much. And every single thing that the game does ties back into the vibe. If this vibe was different, the entire game would be different. But because this vibe plays into itself so much and it takes itself decently seriously for an Italian plumber jumping along fucking planet, it makes the game just feel so much more important. And I know I've said that a lot, but that's like the biggest feeling I get when playing this game, is like I'm doing something important. I can play Kirby in the Forgotten Land and absolutely love it, but I'm never gonna act like that game is important. And I'd say that it probably does have the same importance as something like Galaxy would have, but because Galaxy takes itself so seriously, it makes it feel like a lot more than it actually is, which plays to the game's favor. Now, I do think that this game does deserve a lot of the praise it gets, but I don't think it's the best game of all time, and it's probably not my favorite Mario game of all time. What a fucking surprise. I didn't like every single thing that the game had to offer. Holy shit, guys. I kind of disliked a couple levels of the game. I'm a fucking satanic nightmare. Now, like I said, I don't think it's my favorite Mario game of all time, but it will definitely go down as being the most memorable one that I've played, and it will probably end up being the one that I end up coming back to the most of any other. Like, if you like Mario even just a little bit and you haven't played through this game, you're a fucking fake fan. It's by far the most experimental 3D Mario games have ever gotten ever, and I honestly don't know how anybody could play through this game and actually think it's bad. I could understand if you didn't like it, but I don't understand how somebody could come to the conclusion that this game is bad or unenjoyable to play. Now, I think that as a YouTuber, I will never be good at outros. It is so hard to do this. I don't know why.